Hello, everyone. I promised a part two, and you got a part two of this week's Cinderella Slippers. My name is Braden Bear, and we welcome you back to what is the second part of this episode from Tuesday. Instead, it was recorded on Thursday because, again, was busy and I was getting classes figured out again, but we got them all figured out. As not only I have been a part of mostly, and you see I got another alert again. Yeah, I'll turn that off for a second. But today is also the U.S.-Canada matchup, and I'll be watching that. But that has nothing to do with this podcast or anything like that. It was just life's been a little disrupting lately. But we are here, and we're back at it again with Cinderella Slippers podcast. The biggest things, the three takeaways you're going to take away from today are we're going to talk about the JUCO standings, Division III tournament, Division II outlook, Division II tournament, and the NAI episode as well. So this is a huge podcast. But first, men's basketball, we had a lot happen in the last previous days, including Missouri beating Alabama in what was one of the biggest upsets in the SEC so far. The funniest thing about that was when the coach was saying, do not storm the court, do not storm the court, because they got fined about a month ago after beating Kansas in December of last year. And not only is that a problem, it's becoming a major issue with the SEC, and in my opinion, they shouldn't even be fining anybody. In my opinion, it's very, very stupid to be fining every single person for absolutely no reason. And it's been an issue in football, too. It's been an issue in football. It's been an issue partially in basketball. And it's been an issue in almost every sport except for baseball and stuff like that. But, again, it's very evident that the SEC does not like being a part of court stormings. And that is a huge problem for us, but not a big problem for them. And so Missouri won last night. They beat Alabama by the score of 110-98. Kentucky steamrolled Vanderbilt 82-61, as Vanderbilt's one of my hot seat contenders for the at least the NCAA tournament this year, if they can make it to the quarter or semifinals of their tournament. And then St. John's beat DePaul last night 82-58 in what will be one of the more easier roads for St. John's. DePaul is literally the worst team out of the Big East. They are not only the worst team, they're worse under all atrocities, and they are not going to win the Big East this year. Obviously, it'll be St. John's, and if they do, it'll be their first regular title since the early 90s. So that's going to be very exciting for everybody there in New York. And then, of course, what can go wrong with the number one ranked team in the country? Nothing, because they beat Arkansas last night 67-60, and what was a big landslide. And basically a 7-point win, and Auburn is still perfect, except they got 2 losses on the season. But that goes with the ranked men's basketball games. Today we have 1, and unfortunately for a lot of people who want to watch the U.S.-Canada game and you live in either Maryland or Southern California, you might be stuck watching this game. If you like it, though, good. But if you don't like it, I would recommend watching the Four Nations Championship, not college basketball. But I'm going to give you all the lineups of the ranked matchups from this week, from today, February 20th, all the way to the weekend on February 23rd, being the conclusion, going into next week, because March is coming. And if you guys want to know something, the NCAA.com has just opened its bracket challenge, and I entered 10 brackets, 20 today, and I was punching them in, getting them ready for March. It's literally going to be 3 weeks away. That is just crazy to think about. That's crazy to think about. Every day it is. But I do think March is coming. March is near, as the TikTok would say. And we got a lot to look forward to here on this podcast. This is where I'll be more regular. Okay, this is where I'm regular. This is where I'm here. There's a lot of college basketball on, And now I don't see much interruptions getting in our way. Hopefully. But tonight we have number 20 Maryland going up against USC at 8:30 p.m. Probably will be on Fox. Tomorrow we got I warned you about this on Tuesday, the biggest matchup of all time with Michigan State at 14, Michigan at 12. They will play again on March 8th, and that will be for the Big Ten Championships. This could be too. Believe it or not, whoever wins this game will win the Big Ten tournament or Big Ten championship and then be number 1 in the Big Ten tournament and number 2 in the Big Ten tournament. But that'll be at 8 p.m. tomorrow on Fox. Villanova and number 16 Marquette play beforehand at 7 p.m. on Friday. And then Saturday, we have a slate of matchups, all good, all very ranked games. Number 25, Louisville, will be playing Florida State at Louisville at 12 p.m. Number 11, Wisconsin, will stay at home and play against the Oregon Ducks at 12 noon. Tennessee and Texas A&M in a highly anticipated matchup in the SEC to determine second and possibly third place, maybe even a winner, will take place on Saturday at 12 noon at Texas A&M at College Station. And then Oklahoma will take on Mississippi State at Norman, and they will go up against each other at 1 p.m. on Saturday. Texas Tech will go up against West Virginia at 1 p.m. on Saturday, and these are all East Coast times. Another big matchup is where Iowa State will be visiting Houston. Iowa State at number 8 and Houston at number 5 will be meeting at 2 p.m. And then another highly anticipated matchup with Vanderbilt. After avenging their loss against Kentucky, they have a chance to play against the Ole Miss Rebels, which are ranked 24th in the country. That could be an upset pick. I think it will be an upset pick. Vanderbilt will get that done. They'll be at 3:30 on Saturday. Number 18, Clemson, will travel to SMU for a possible upset. I don't think it might be an upset, but we'll see. February 22nd at 4 p.m., which will be this Saturday. Then Oklahoma State will be traveling to Kansas, who are struggling and will not be ranked after this week. That's crazy to even think about. Crazy. They need this win more than Oklahoma State needs it. Those Cowboys don't need it as bad as the Jayhawks do. But they play at 4 p.m. on Saturday. And then Auburn and Georgia. Now, you'd think this matchup would be, on paper, it's like a great football matchup. You would think that. All these matchups in the SEC, the next three I'm going to read, would be great matchups in football. Maybe not the last one I'll mention, but the other two will. Number 1, Auburn will play Georgia at 4 p.m. on Saturday. And then Florida, at number 2, will travel to LSU for, knock on wood, a big upset. Big upset coming if LSU can beat Florida, who are on a roll right now. So I personally don't see Florida losing, but LSU's got some wingmen, and they'll play at 6 p.m. Kentucky and Alabama. Kentucky is going to travel to Bama, and they're 17th in the country, where Bama is 4th. Knock on wood, another upset. Kentucky could do it, but we'll have to wait and see. That'll be at 6 p.m. Missouri at 15 going up against Arkansas. Knock on wood, another upset, folks. Another upset. 8 p.m. on Saturday. Look out for that one. Number 3, Duke will go up against Illinois at 8 p.m. And finally, and that should be an easy win for Duke over in Cameron Indoor Stadium. I thought it was at Champaign for a minute, but it isn't. And finally, Arizona goes up against BYU. And Arizona is ranked number 19. Knock on wood. A big upset coming, maybe. Maybe. Let's be honest. Arizona isn't strong. They are with Caleb Love, but other than that, they can be on and off. They can turn it on and off. The pressure cooker gets hot for them, and then it gets cold for them, and then it gets hot again, and then it gets cold again, and then Caleb Love wants to play a good game, and then he doesn't. So I'm really interested to see that matchup at 10 p.m. on Saturday, and I'm really hopeful to maybe see Arizona or BYU pull this one off, but BYU could do it. And then to wrap this schedule all up, we have on Sunday besides the UConn St. John's game at 12 p.m. There is not much else to look forward to. Because believe it or not, Memphis should not be ranked. They're going to play Florida Atlantic without Dusty May, by the way. He's not there anymore. And Memphis isn't good. They're a good tournament team. But can they do it? Will they do it? I don't know. It's hard to wrap my head around, but knock on wood, Florida Atlantic will upset Memphis. I don't think I'm right on all these. I'm not going to put any money down on it. And speaking of money, you can earn money and earn a discount over at Amazon Music. Thousands of podcasts and shows are made every day where you can listen to the Crimes of Morbid and Joe Rogan podcast along with listening to Sabrina Carpenter and Ariana Grande. Amazon Music has your right taste of selection for you with over 450,000 different options. You have the right one to choose. Use the discount in the description below to use this code offer down below to get $5 off every time you go to Amazon Music. This will be the last time I run this promotion. I will run it again in YouTube videos that I cover, so please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Braden 98.5 WBRA Radio, or also known as Braden the Field Hockey Guy, which I plan to switch that. But we'll be talking about field hockey here pretty soon, so especially in the international world, there's a lot going on with field hockey, but that might come out in March, maybe April. But yeah, go to Amazon Music where you can bop the whole night through and listen to your favorite tunes. Amazon Music, the site where you need to go to listen to music, podcasts, and anything else. And for the final matchup on Sunday, February 23rd, the last ranked matchup on Sunday, February 23rd, Purdue is coming to Bloomington. And boy, will that be fun. It is always fun when they meet. It's fun when they play games. It's fun when they're here. They haven't played a Sunday matchup in a long time. I think it's been a while for a Sunday matchup to have been in Bloomington at 1:30 in the afternoon. It's weird. It's weird because IU's in a rough spot, but I don't want to say knock on wood for this one. This is not a knock on wood pick. This is a die pick, unfortunately. We'll dive deep into the waters of it. Braden Smith, Fletcher Hoyer, great players. Trey Kaufman-Renn, who won 2020 Gatorade Player of the Year over Anthony Leal, who's playing in this game. Him, Goody, and sometimes Mbako, sometimes Galloway are the best guys on that floor, point blank, period. At this point, I would not care on the IU side, especially as an IU fan. I haven't cared since they lost to UCLA. I was going to care after we beat Michigan State, but then after that, I don't really know. Michigan State's a strong team now since that loss. They couldn't hit threes for their life against IU. But IU can't hit threes for their life, as there were games in the first half where they went 0-13. 0-13, and then they hit another one. And then they hit another one. Miss. Lose possession. Win the game. Win the first half. Lose the second half. But since that Illinois game, though, IU is in a weird spot. They're very weird because they're unorthodox. They're here. They're there. They are one place. They are another place. They can't think. They can't even ration what they can even decide, man. It's bad, but let's just make a slight tap on wood that maybe IU could beat Purdue. Maybe. But I'm not holding it. It isn't Michigan State. We've played them. Close game. Kept losing possession. We have 38 out of 40 minutes that we play where we're just sometimes, if we are dominant, we are dominant. But then we can't get the job done. If we get the job done against Purdue, court storm that floor. I don't care. That's the last court storming you will ever see in the Mike Woodson era. This is it. It's over for him. And we all know it is. He's going to step down. And now the question that everyone's asking after this season is over, regardless of what happens if we make and how we're in the NCAA tournament, it's beyond me. In my selection brackets, which will come out on a newsletter on Saturday, going into Sunday, one thing that I will say is Indiana's out of the first four teams in. They sure are. They're not good. They're not fresh. They don't play well. They don't shoot threes very well. I have to hear Kent Sterling and my group chat be so peed off every single week over IU. It's frustrating. It really is if you're from Bloomington. And if you're an alum like me, I'm pretty disappointed on the basketball, but we went from having the highest of highs to the lowest of lows this season, where the highest of highs were the football team going 11-2, Signetti building a powerhouse at IU for football, and now we got to deal with this garbage, basically, which is lopsided teams, lopsided performances. We lose every game. And at this point, I'm just like, lose it all. Lose it all. I don't care. Lose it all. Maybe win against Ohio State on your last game, but don't beat. You can beat Washington. I'm fine with that. But Oregon and Purdue are the two teams I can clearly, without upon a shadow of doubt, can tell you IU is going to lose to both of those teams. But to Washington and Ohio State, they're not. They're going to win those games, especially for senior day, because they have to. This is Leal's last game. This is Trey Galloway's last game, possibly Ballow's last game, which thank God, because we can get a better center under a new coach. All of it's bad, all of it's stupid, and the decision-making's been very, very poor. But now all eyes are on Scott Dolson and Pamela Whitten to make the decision known, hey, we need to hire this coach. And whoever this coach is going to be Hoosier bred, but won't be an Indiana Hoosier. That's just my opinion. But I've heard a lot of rumors around, going all around college basketball, and they're saying Rick Pitino. I even saw Gus Johnson say there is a new contender in the Big Ten, and it's Rick Pitino. He's the new cowboy of the Big Ten. I was like, the Big Ten? Are you serious? The Big Ten? The Big Ten. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's going to happen, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, Indiana might get Rick Pitino. Don't be shocked if we do. We tried Brad Stevens. We tried him. Everybody made profiles about him online. The duplicate Bob Knight sweater with Brad Stevens' face on it. It's the funniest thing if you go on X and you search IU social media. It's insane and it's awesome. And I've been a part of this group for well over a few months now. Will be a year in November. And I've loved every minute of it. I've loved every minute of it. And yeah. So that is your lineup for Thursday, Friday, for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Division I basketball. And out of all these games that intrigue me, the Texas A&M Tennessee one really fascinates me, and the Iowa State Houston one really fascinates me on rankings. Those will be close, those will be gritty. But Kentucky, Alabama is where it's at, and possibly Illinois, Duke. But in terms of upsets and sleepers, there really isn't that much to look forward to this weekend except for Vanderbilt and Ole Miss. That could obviously be a Vanderbilt win. If it was football, it'd be Vanderbilt. But we will have to wait and see. Yeah, so that does it for Division I ranked basketball. In terms of everybody else, we will get into that possibly next week. But let's take a short break. Actually, I'll get into it here in a little bit. I have a lot of time on my hands. So I'm actually going to talk about the rest of Division I, especially the mid-majors that it was just revealed today, or was revealed on Tuesday with Joe Lunardi's Bracketology, that we have some teams that we really want to talk about that I haven't had the chance to talk about. They were published 2 days ago on Tuesday at 8:30. In terms of mid-majors, it's going to be a real battle between UC Irvine and UC San Diego. If UC Irvine and UC San Diego, they to me are legit contenders to pull off an upset in the NCAA tournament. Regardless, they shoot so well, it's crazy. It is crazy how good they shoot. Unfortunately, though, if they don't face Ole Miss or they play Ole Miss, they do not face Ole Miss, St. Mary's, all those teams. But instead, they meet Illinois or Mississippi State or UConn, maybe Kansas. One of those teams. A lot's going to happen. Now, Lipscomb was projected to be in the NCAA tournament. They're good. I would say Lipscomb's going to have to fight their way to get into the tournament. And then Drake is going to have to fight their way to get into the tournament. But UC Irvine and UC San Diego are both very, 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 very hot shooting teams from three. They can rebound really, really well. And they have a potential opportunity to upset someone like Ole Miss or St. Mary's or Iowa State. Yes, I said it, Iowa State. Especially UC San Diego, especially if they're a 15 seed. But why in the world are you disrespecting the Omaha Mavericks? They might not win their division, but smash enough trash cans as you can. But they are so good. They're smashing the competition. Omaha Mavericks, to me, if they played Alabama or Tennessee or they were a 15 seed, it's disrespectful to put them at a 15 or 16 seed. They deserve to play Tennessee as a 15 seed, not Central Connecticut. Central Connecticut has a good chance. Like, hey, Central Connecticut has a good chance to maybe face Alabama and lose by 110 to 69, but Quinnipiac is not a good selection for me either. They just added them recently, which goes to show you that I do not like these 16 seeds this year. I think Omaha needs to be a 15 seed. Quinnipiac needs to be possibly stay at a 16 seed, but play against a team like Duke or somebody instead of having Duke play either American or Southern. Regardless of who they play, if it's Southern, they'll run them out of the gym. But if it's American, they could have a close competition with them in the first half, and then Duke's going to run away with it in the second and completely win by a total landslide. It's not even going to be close. Duke is a great team, Cooper Flag and everybody. So I do not know how they can't even make the Final Four, but I wouldn't doubt if they don't make the Elite Eight in some of our brackets. Now, like I was saying earlier, there's no excuse to put Omaha as a 16 seed and have Lipscomb as a 13 seed. I mean, I'm not a big fan of either, but UC Davis and UC San Diego will have to win their tournament or lose in be second place in the tournament to even get a spot in the NCAA tournament. But if Omaha beats Southeast Missouri State, which I do have, they're really good. They're so solid. They're so perimeter. They're united together. This is such a great, great, great story. It's just unfair that they have to play Auburn to get there. And I don't want to sound like I will say it right now. Omaha, to me, is a good enough team to upset Alabama, or possibly, you're going to laugh at me on this one, or Florida. Okay. Yeah, laugh all you want about that. They're going to do it. I think. Omaha has a great chance to maybe upset Auburn. It would be the greatest upset in American sports history. Maybe the greatest upset ever, because Auburn is not weak. They got Shaquille Broom. He's so good, and so are all those players. I don't see that being a problem. If it's Southeast Missouri State, they're going to win easily. But if it's Omaha, look out, folks. Look out. They will keep it close. But can Auburn not lose to a 16 seed after recovering last year, losing to Yale big? Oh my gosh. Trust me. Omaha is the clearest choice of 15 seed. And in my opinion, it should be Central Connecticut and Southeast Missouri State, or them, Lipscomb probably meeting in the first four. But I do not like those 16 seeds one bit. Norfolk State I'm fine with, but American and Southern are just going to get their butts wrung out of the gym. Whoever wins that game, it really doesn't matter. I can already tell you right now, Omaha and Southeast Missouri State, along with Southern and American, are going to be 6:45 games on a March evening when everybody is about ready to go to bed. So they're going to be the 6:45 to 8:45 matchup, and then after that, and the other seeds, the Arkansas Wake Forest game is going to be at 9:45 because those are some of your more standout teams. And then the last of which, the San Diego State Oklahoma, that's going to be another 9:45 matchup. Again, I have San Diego State in this prediction. San Diego State beating Oklahoma. I have American beating Southern for some reason. They might not do it, but Southern will probably upset them. Omaha losing to Southeast Missouri State. Or no, beating Southeast Missouri State. My bad, beating them. Omaha will beat Southeast Missouri State. And give me Arkansas. And if Arkansas can really try it to go for the ultimate home run, they beat Maryland and play against St. John's. Yeah, I said it. Calipari versus Pitino. Two historic coaches. Arkansas could make an Elite Eight run if they know what they're doing. They really can run the table. But are they good? We've seen it before. 2016 Syracuse, they were ranked 10th in the country, had Jim Boeheim, led them to a record later where they went to the Final Four. And then you have possibly an opportunity for both St. John's and Arkansas to play a really close game. It'll be closer than the experts think. But if it happened today, I'd personally pick St. John's to get to the Sweet 16, but I expect it to be high scoring. Just expect it to be high scoring. So, yeah, I'm not big. So, basically, all I'm going to say is it's going to be a lot to see Omaha maybe beat Auburn, but please, knock on wood, it may happen. Arkansas, Omaha, and then I had American and San Diego State. But who really cares about that Southern American game? They're going to lose to Duke anyway. And the other two 16 seeds, Quinnipiac and Norfolk State. I don't have a problem with Quinnipiac. I just wish it was Central Connecticut probably playing Alabama or Omaha playing Alabama. But other than that, I'm not a big fan on how these are seeded. In terms of the other people, we talked about UC San Diego and UC Irvine, which are one of the last four out in the tournament. It's all up to their conference championship to determine everything. Other than that, though, High Point in Michigan is a fascinating matchup because High Point can run the floor, and Michigan is one of the worst turnover teams in all of college basketball. And I wouldn't doubt in year one that Dusty May loses to High Point because High Point can really run. They're fast, they're quick, and Michigan turns the ball over like flies. And Yale, watch out for Yale in that same bracket. Yale could beat Missouri. They are really good too. Michigan and High Point's going to be a great matchup because it's a battle of Big Ten powerhouse versus little powerhouse, fast team versus clumsy team. And then Yale and Missouri is kind of the same thing. Whereas Missouri can beat everyone up. They've lost the last 2 years. They lost to Princeton in 2022, and then they lost last year, and then they lost in 2023, and I think last year too. But Yale, expect them to go on a Sweet 16 run. But to me, I because of history, I think Missouri might beat Yale. But Yale, they're so good, and they're going to win the Ivy League. But expect High Point to maybe upset Michigan this year. Knock on wood on that as well. And so Illinois, George Mason, I think it's easy. Illinois is going to win that game. Not even close. George Mason, I hate their logo now. It used to look so much better than it was. I don't think they're going to do it this year. And then Kentucky's lost so many times. They have a more experienced team. They're going to beat UC Greensboro if that was today. Houston again. Cleveland State, not even close. Iowa State, Bryant. Bryant could upset Iowa State because Bryant has Doug Eder. And guess what Doug Eder did back in 2022? He played for the St. Peter's team that made it all the way to the Elite Eight. And they beat everyone. They beat Kentucky. They beat Murray State. They beat Purdue and almost beat North Carolina to make it to the Final Four. Would that have been effing crazy? If Duke had a chance to go to the Final Four and go to the national title, play Kansas, and have Coach K win his last national title in college basketball if North Carolina didn't beat St. Peter's. Okay, it's crazy, but Bryant, don't doubt them. They are deep from three. They got deep defense. They could do it, but the odds of them doing it as a 15th seed or slim under this Iowa State defense. Both teams will be gritty, it'll be hard-nosed, but it's going to be fun. And Texas is another team like Michigan that will turn the ball over. Expect St. Mary's to run the table on that one if it happened today. Towson, not a big fan of Towson. Wisconsin's different. And then I mentioned earlier, I kind of glossed it a little bit. Drake and Marquette. Drake could upset Marquette. It's obvious. It's clear. Drake just needs to win their conference tournament to just gain some leverage. We talked about Central Connecticut. I'm not too high on them. Not too high on some of the 15 and 16 seeds. Lipscomb, I'm not too fascinated with, but they may be there. They've already acquired their spot for 13 if it happened today. Utah Valley, we haven't talked too much about. They might be Arizona, knock on wood. They might be Arizona because they're just elusive from three. But are they good? No, they're not very well polished compared to the rest. And then the last team I want to talk about, Montana, Texas A&M, not even close. Montana might not be in it after this week anyway. But we'll see. Arkansas State and St. John's not even close. That's what I think is going to happen in terms of some of these mid-majors. Yeah. So I think the first four teams, now we got to pay attention to these last teams out because they have a lot of potential. VCU, Georgia, SMU, North Carolina, Indiana, Xavier, Kansas State, and UC Irvine. VCU, Georgia, Kansas State, and UC Irvine all have a chance to go to the NCAA tournament if they can win their conference. If they don't, this whole thing is going to be shaken up like crazy. They've already shaken the ball full of dominoes and dice in it. They're going to throw it on the table, and it's going to be one to grab and win the bingo contest. So I think those teams that I just mentioned, VCU, Georgia, Kansas State, UC Irvine, all have opportunities to go to the NCAA tournament. Indiana, Xavier, SMU, and North Carolina do not have a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. Goodbye and see you at the NIT. In terms of the last four in, being San Diego State, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Wake Forest, Texas, West Virginia, BYU, and Vandy. Texas, Vandy, West Virginia, BYU, San Diego State, Arkansas, and maybe Wake Forest all have chances to go to the NCAA tournament. They could be sleeper or Cinderella picks, whichever ones you want to think, especially San Diego State, if they can play UCLA, because like they've done the last 2 years, they don't have the same elusive offense they did back in 2022 that led them to, or 23 where they played against UConn. So in my opinion, I think that's going to be very clear and obvious. Hey, we need to watch out for San Diego State. But the big draw, like I mentioned earlier, is probably Arkansas. Arkansas could make it to the Elite Eight and upset the Johnnies. And if they do, let's say it does happen in this bracket, Auburn beats Gonzaga. Auburn, Arkansas would be a dream matchup in the Sweet 16. Just would be a dream matchup. But I think Auburn's going to win that, and it's going to be over from there. But that's just a prediction. These are all not accurate picks for today. But we'll be right back right after this. We just talked about the NCAA, some of the big power conferences. And don't ever forget about Vermont. They're going to win the America East. Maine and them have no chance when it comes down to March when you see Vanderbilt or Vermont win that tournament every single year. Every single year they have an opportunity to win that tournament, and they either flutter or they fall. And Vermont might win again this year, but they also might not. Let's take a break, and coming up next, we're going to talk about Division II and Division III basketball right after this. And welcome back to the Cinderella Slippers podcast. We have two more segments, three more actually to get into. Let's talk a little Division II and Division III basketball, as not only have we kind of glossed over it with Division I and everything, that being exciting and everything, we're kind of, forgetting about the top 25 rankings and basically who I think is going to win the Division III tournaments. We're going to start with Division III and then go straight to Division II, hoping we can get that done today. And their rankings are very, 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 very hard to find sometimes, especially for some of these, because there needs to be more national traction on all this stuff. Way more national traction on Division III and Division II basketball, especially as someone who did transfer from a JUCO. And let's just start. Let's just start with women's, as NYU, Scranton, and Bowdoin are all undefeated, and they all have a clear opportunity to win their division. I'm shocked to not see Hope, especially contend right now. Hope had a lot of hope, and they are ranked 18th with the 19-4 record, ranked 160 in points. And then their last ranking was 15th in the country. So they've fallen down a little bit after a loss. And so NYU have been impressed with all season long. I've heard a lot about them. Scranton, I know, they're scrapping their way to win the Division III tournament this year. They're heavy favorites to go up against NYU or Bowdoin. Also watch out for Illinois Wesleyan. They're really good. They can run the floor very, very well. And Trine is always a sleeper. For every single person, Trine is a sleeper. And how they function with the D3 and D2 tournaments so much different than Division I. But in my opinion, as of right now, it looks to me that NYU is one of the best teams in all of Division III basketball right now. They have star players that got really good offense. But not only that, they're really good on the perimeter as well. Really good at just playing basketball. Their flow is so much better than it was before. And Scranton has that opportunity. But these three teams, NYU, Scranton, and Bowdoin, are all amazing teams. They are all undefeated. It's a battle of which one's going to meet in the championship come March. And so that is going to be, and speaking of women, the men are doing really well, too. They lost one game, this season. They have 21 wins and one loss, whereas Wesleyan is perfect. They're 24-0. But can we see another undefeated team win in Division II or Division III this year? That's something I really do wonder. And other than Rick Pitino's St. John's, there's another team called St. John's, and they have a 20-3 record right now. They were last ranked 6th, but then had a huge loss over the weekend. And after that, Tufts, they again are one of the higher-ups to win out of Division III. Look out for Washington U. They're always really good. They always run the table, but they're not that great this year with the 17-5 record. But then some other picks that they had for men's Division III were Carthage, Drew with 42 points, Keene State at 24 points, John Carroll University at 20 points, Belhaven at 16, Virginia Wesleyan at 7, University of Chicago with 5, Maryville, Tennessee with 3, Catholic University with 1, and Claremont Bud Scrubs, along with Franklin and Marshall at 1 as well. I don't think they'll be good sleepers for an underdog story, but the teams I can definitely see after this season being underdogs, Calvin is really good. They tried to make it last year. They couldn't. And then Wesleyan and NYU are going to win, possibly Division III as well. But they all look impressive, those teams I just mentioned. But then women's, it's a little different, where those teams are, believe it or not, Messiah at 46, Carnegie Mellon with 36, Western New England 30, Mass Dartmouth 20, Southern Virginia 18 points with the other receiving votes, Bates 16 points, UW La Crosse with 7 points, McMurray at 4 points, Cortland at 2, and Texas Lutheran with 1 point for the other receiving votes. NYU and Scranton in the final. I'd love to see that. Hope College, you've had your run, especially in the last 4 years. You've had star players left and right. You had probably the biggest matchup in all of D3 basketball to date 2 years ago. And now Hope is kind of sliding, but they'll come back. They'll come back. They're this team that they had won the title 2 years ago, but since they don't have a lot of their star players anymore, it's looked a lot different. But do not sleep on Elizabethtown as well. They are really good as well. Really, really, really good as well. And in terms of a game, we have one game tonight with number 23 East Texas Baptist going up against Latourneau. That is Letourneau coming up tonight at 6:30 in the women's games. And then tomorrow for women's basketball in D3, Carnegie Mellon's going to meet number 1 NYU for a chance to beat NYU. And that's a school that we'll be talking about a lot in March because of the fact that Barron Trump actually goes to NYU. And it's going to be fascinating to see if he ever wants to join the basketball team. He should have had a basketball scholarship. Number 8, Christopher Newport's going to play against Salisbury. Schreiner is going to play number 21 ranked Colorado College. Number 5, Whitman is going to go up against Linfield on Friday. And then Saturday, some huge games in Division 3. Denson goes up against number 14 Ohio Wesleyan at 1. Brian Moore goes up against number 12 Gettysburg. Number 10 Smith's is going to travel to Wesley. Kalamazoo is going to travel to Trine, number 11 in the country. William will travel to Bowdoin, who's number 3 in the country. Baldwin Wallace at number 9 will travel to Marietta. And then this is going to be the matchup of the weekend. Number 2 Scranton at number 22 Elizabethtown. That's going to be a huge game. And then Lycoming will travel to number 15 Catholic. Roanoke will travel to number 20 Washington and Lee. And that'll be at 2 o'clock. Avert will go up against number 17 Randolph Mason. And then 2 p.m., a lot of games at 2 p.m., but this is the last one. St. Benedict will travel to number 25 Bethel. And then at 3, the matchup we've all been waiting for, a big rivalry in Division 3. Alma's going to play against number 18 Hope College in Hope, Michigan. And then Co is going to play against number 13 Wartburg. Number 4, Illinois Wesleyan will play against Augustina. And then Dickinson will travel to number 16 St. John's. St. John's Hopkins. Yeah, Johns Hopkins, number 16 in the country. It'll play at 4 p.m. And then this is another big matchup, too, that people need to watch. Number 7, UW Oshkosh will play against number 19, UW Stout at 4 p.m. UW Eau Claire will go up against number 24, UW Whitewater. And then St. Catherine will go up against number 6, Gustavus Adolphus at 4 p.m. And so there's also 2 more events on Sunday. The ones involving NYU once again. NYU is going to play against Keith's Western Reserve. And Trinity is going to play against number 21 Colorado College. And that does it for Division 3 women's games in terms of talking about what's going to be going on throughout the weekend. Trying to find the men's. Here we go. And so with the men's, there's going to be a few games. No events today, but there will be